Louisiana Secretary of State Nancy Landry announces the opening of an exhibit of original prints by Louisiana photographer Dr. Jon Griffin Donlon titled Others InSite, Atchafalaya Basin Landscapes and Ad Hoc Gardens of Japan. The display will run from January 16, 2025 through February 16, 2025. The exhibit will open in the West Wing Gallery on Thursday, January 16, 2025, with a reception honoring the artist from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. LSEM Friends will provide light refreshments. Born in Lafayette, Louisiana, Jon Griffin Donlon graduated from ULL. He left Louisiana to pursue graduate work at the University of Illinois. He has since then shown his drawings, paintings, and photographs from time to time, regionally, nationally, and internationally. Donlon took his Ph.D. from the U of I in the Department of Leisure Studies, specializing in controversial leisure and tourism. In the ensuing decades, he has worked in Africa, Asia, Europe, the Near East, the Mediterranean, and the United States. LSEM is excited about displaying an international view of travel juxtaposed with Louisiana landscapes in the Atchafalaya Abstract Series, according to gallery curator Nita Cole. Others InSite, Atchafalaya Landscapes, and Ad Hoc Gardens of Japan. The Dr. Jon Donlon photography exhibit will be on display in the West Wing Gallery until February 16, 2025. The public is invited to view the exhibit during regular museum hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. The museum is located at 3015 Greenwood Road, between Hearn and Jewella Avenues, Shreveport. Louisiana State Exhibit Museum in Shreveport. Completed in 1939 as one of the New Deal's public works projects, the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum is an architectural jewel built in the ultra-modern style of the time. This circular building is home to 23 beautifully rendered scale dioramas that portray a snapshot of Louisiana life in the 1940s. LSEM's collection includes Louisiana Native American artifacts, regional and national history artifacts, original works of local artists, and natural history exhibits. An allegorical fresco by Conrad Obrizio, which reinforces the theme of the interior exhibits, agriculture, industry, and the natural resources of Louisiana. It's paired with monumental figures intended to be viewed at a distance from the Dixie Highway 80. Others InSite, in many ways, represents new territory for me. With the exception of occasional figure work, I've almost never included human beings in my photography, though many of my drawings are traditional nudes, except of course in photojournalism. Although captured at the site of touristic enterprise, these photographs are expressly not tourism pictures. I've struggled to display, to some degree reasonable, the backstage of the human theater. Others InSite, my second suite of images stateside, follow fast on my Ad Hoc Gardens of Japan, closely embraces a particular theme of activity. I worked on Ad Hoc Gardens of Japan for a number of years. During that time, I was interested in the novel ways the Japanese used primarily container gardens to articulate space. Meanwhile, over a couple of decades, I created a very large painting group reflecting what I felt about Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin. Later, I photographed segments of those finished paintings as iterations of that work. For Ad Hoc Gardens of Japan, I spent almost a decade living and traveling in Asia, primarily Japan, strolling the lanes of Kamakura, wandering about Kyoto, rubbernecking in Nagano, walking the streets of Tokyo, happily capturing the images I loved of a setting which moved my soul. During this time, I framed an enormous number of photographs of these vernacular ad hoc gardens. If the work in ad hoc gardens of Japan reflects the aesthetics of so-called street photography, then this suite, Others InSite, extends the vision and benefits from ideas, themes, and notions dealt with in such scholarly journals as Annals of Tourism Research, Journal of Travel Research, and Tourism Management, the leading edge publications in the field. I don't intend this work to be heuristic, but it's obvious that I've imbued the photographs with my intellectual concerns. There is no real connection between the great mass of ideas presented and the theory offered by anthropology or tourism studies and the reality of human beings in the lived settings. Certainly my work, pretty much throughout my career, has followed the contour of traditional fine arts, though I've more sought to find an individual emotional voice which might skew my efforts slightly toward craft and away from the central energy of the fine arts, then invent new territory. I hope that I have succeeded in marking the familiar landscape of design, figure, and form with my particular vision. Typical, perhaps, of photographers of my generation, my way of seeing exhibits a telling reflection of the F-64 camp, with its emphasis on choice, clarity, and finish, what has been called a modernist aesthetic that was based on precisely exposed images of natural forms and found objects. I only very rarely use my technically precise 4x5 camera now, phasing almost entirely into contemporary digital technology. However, I believe that experience under the drape was good training for being thoughtful and reflective about composition. On occasion, I still show this work, most of which was shot around South Louisiana. I was strongly influenced by the so-called street photography ethic, extending from Henri Cartier-Bresson to such artists as Gary Winogrand and Lee Friedlander and or Wolfgang Tillman and Martin Parr, which I see as the logical extension of the flaneur, an observer of the streets, who has often been called a traditional artist or writer. I see special agency in selecting and arresting a unique moment and rendering it in time, either as an image or in text. During my lifetime as an artist, consultant, educator, and writer, I've lived and worked in Africa, Asia, Europe, the Near East, the Mediterranean, and the United States. Through my Asian experience is clearly a high point. I continue to consult, draw, paint, do photography, and write. My several books are available through Amazon. All these prints of these images here are available for sale. Thank you.